UFC Vegas 44, aka UFC Fight Night, Rob Font versus Jose Aldo. Welcome to our main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan, I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, we're giving you our fight by fight breakdown, fight by fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective. Here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action sticking around towards the end of the video. If you have not taken a look at our prelim card prediction video yet, please make sure that you go ahead and do that. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel, press the thumbs up on this video, and make sure that you participate in the comments. We want to hear from you. It's a very busy card, 15 fights overall. We had 9 of them on the prelim. We have 6 of them on the main card. So again, we are going to get right to work with fight number 1. Looks like this was a last minute fight that was added to the card. Fight number 1, Bryan Barberena taking on Darian Weeks. Tough fight to start the card. Not quite sure why this is on the main card, but nonetheless, Bryan Barberena lost a majority decision to Jason Witt back in July. Introduced as a striker, southpaw. You're going to see a lot of in and out movement, a lot of fake jabs. He'll look to set up that left hand. Sort of more toughness than skill in my eyes. I wouldn't really call him a high-level striker at all. He is a bit one-dimensional. Suspect takedown defense as well. Darian Weeks, newcomer, 5-0. Hard to really rely on any footage that you see of him because you don't know how it's going to translate to a UFC level. But from what I've seen from him, a pretty diverse striker, good leg kicks, good pop in his punches. I think of his 5 wins, if I'm not mistaken, I think 3 of them are by knockout. Let's just double check that. Yep, 3 of them are by knockout, 2 of them are by submission. And fun fact about him, his actual last professional competition was a split decision loss in boxing. So maybe has a little bit of hands to him as well. But like I said, hard to rely on any footage. This looks like a fight that was added last minute, so I don't even really want to put too much time and put too much emphasis on reviewing this fight at all. But from what I've seen, generally speaking, I'm not impressed with Bryan Barberena. I think he's a very beatable fighter. He's introduced as a striker, and I don't think his striking is that good. So I'm looking for the newcomer here. If he performs the way he needs to, very winnable fight for him. Do not bet this fight at all. But I am going to go with the newcomer, Darian Weeks. Zan, I don't know if you've taken a look at this fight, or should we skip over to fight number 2?
This fight, I didn't really take any look at this fight. I just, you're telling me now. But one thing I want the viewers to take in is that why is this fight on the main card, right? I mean, I didn't study this fight, so I'm not going to give a prediction. But why is this fight on the main card? There's better fights on the prelims that can easily replace this fight, such as Manel Kopp versus whoever he's fighting. That's a much better fight to put on the main card. Even Jake Matthews versus Jeremiah Wells, who had a really good showing in his last fight. Jeremiah Wells had a really good knockout in his last fight. So you think, like, these are better fights to put on the main card. So there has to be something to this new guy. Again, I didn't watch anything, so I can't give any prediction. But just ask yourself, why is this fight on the main card? Okay, let's go to the next fight.
Fight number 2, we have Brendan Allen taking on Chris Curtis. Brendan Allen, good unanimous decision win versus Punahele Soriano back in July. Definitely an improved striker, showing it more and more in every fight. He's getting more technical, especially in his last 2 fights. Of course, we know his ability to pressure and be explosive, but now he's taking his time on the feet a little bit more, trusting his technical ability, trusting his chin, and trusting his ability to put some pressure on his opponent with his power of his own. Good kicks, mixes them up well. The hands are good now, too, in my opinion. We know his grappling ability, almost or just above 1.5 submissions per fight, almost 1.5 takedowns per fight. Also pretty good on top. Uses a good mix of grappling and ground and pound and positional improvements to look really good when he is on top. Chris Curtis, 6-fight win streak after beating Phil Hawes, of course, in his debut. That was just last month. Southpaw on the feet, primarily a boxer, clean boxer as well. Put combinations together. He's pretty composed on the feet, solid punch IQ. And you definitely have to respect his power after what he did to Phil Hawes. Looks like he can defend a takedown at the lower level. Didn't get a chance to show it in his last fight. I'm curious to see how his takedown defense translates at the UFC level. I'm pretty sure Brendan Allen will challenge that. But from a prediction perspective, we see Brendan Allen here as the pretty big favorite. And I understand why. I mean, I think he just has more tools. He's younger, he's bigger, he has the improved stand-up, more than likely the better ground game as well. He can handle big punchers like he did with Punahele Soriano. So I'm not too worried about Chris Curtis landing a big one that changes the entire course of the fight, like Chris Curtis was able to do to Phil Hawes. So yeah, I'll keep it short. Brendan Allen, better fighter, keep the momentum going, minus 360. I get it. Brendan Allen is going to be my pick.
Yeah, I'll make mine quick, man. This is striker versus grappler. And Brendan Allen, he looked good striking his last fight. So he knows he's the bigger guy. I think he's going to have no problem taking this to the mat and just making this a ground and pound Tito Ortiz type fight. Utilizing his size, utilizing the wrestling, ground and pound, top control. Yeah, Brendan Allen, I think he gets it done pretty easy.
Fight number 3. Let's move on to that fight. We have a tough one here. Jimmy Crute taking on Jamahal Hill. This fight here, Jimmy Crute, of course, we know that he had that freak accident or freak injury, I should say, back in April. Lost to Anthony Smith in that fight. Really good wrestling, good takedowns, good body kick, stays with it, or good body lock, I should say, in terms of his takedowns. Stays with it, chain wrestling, good grappling as well. BJJ brown belt, unless he has improved since then, his ranking, but at the very least, the BJJ brown belt. Good striking, pretty good calf kick, willing to engage and trade shots, pretty tight in the stand-up. He does keep his hands up, good head movement, good counter striker, pretty good overall technical fighter. Again, reliable stand-up, good ground game, very complete fighter from that perspective. And, had that freak injury not happen in April, I think he would have got the job done against Anthony Smith. Jamahal Hill lost to Paul Craig back in June. He was a big favorite in that match, if you recall. Southpaw does have some power, does have some speed for the division, kickboxing style. Definitely will throw that head kick as well. He is pretty light on his feet, has decent movement, good choice of shots as well. Goes to the body, doesn't really look rushed at any point in time. Decent clinch against the cage, good Muay Thai, knees, elbows in close, and cardio doesn't really seem to be an issue for him. I'm looking at two fighters who are potential future contenders going at it. The fact that Anthony Smith was as successful as he was with the jab against Jimmy Crute, that was very telling in that fight. I think that long jab could and should be a huge advantage for Jamahal Hill. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, 2 inches in height. And again, he just fights as the much taller fighter. I think Hill may even be better on the feet. But I definitely think Jimmy Crute can hang with him in terms of the stand-up. Jamahal Hill doesn't have the best takedown defense, just 57%. Plus, considering what Paul Craig did to him on the ground, really has to make you think that Jimmy Crute has a huge advantage there. Of course, Paul Craig, a very advanced grappler, but just the way that Jamahal Hill just sucked himself into that move, really can't be confident with Jamahal Hill's ground game at all. I do like Jimmy Crute here, though. I think the wrestling could be a little bit too much. Again, Jamahal Hill doesn't have the best takedowns. BJJ brown belt, maybe he can include some grappling there, especially after Paul Craig was able to do to him. And I think he's going to game plan to include those takedowns in his offense. Win a close one. This is a great matchup here. But I can see Jimmy Crute taking 2 rounds, primarily with his takedowns. So Jimmy Crute will be my pick.
Yeah, this is a really tough fight. But when you see that fight versus Paul Craig, you see the disparity in terms of the ground that Jamahal Hill has. Like, I think Jamahal Hill has the better striking, the more dangerous fighter on the feet. But I just see Crute utilizing that wrestling. But if Crute can't get the wrestling going, I think he's in trouble. But I'm going to go with Jimmy Crute here to get this to the mat, utilize some ground. But again, this is a really hard fight because I think Jamahal could literally win this fight. I think his striking. I think Jamahal can win this fight. I think his striking is that good. I think he just has the know-how. He just has that fight ability. And if he keeps us on the feet, I think he can finish Crute. But I'm going to go Jimmy Crute getting a takedown, but I'm not confident here because I think Hill is I think this is 50-50. I think this is a coin flip fight. So I might change my pick on fight night based on the weigh-in. But for the channel, I'll go with Jimmy Crute.
Fight number 4, we have Guida taking on Leonardo Santos. Guida, he lost via split decision to Marco Madsen in August. We know his MO at this point, toughness plus wrestling. He's going to aggressively look for that takedown, but sort of by any means necessary at times. We know he's going to be at a disadvantage on the feet in most of his fights. Although he can brawl, although he's willing to engage, although he moves a lot with a pretty solid level of activity, he's just not that good on the feet and very beatable on the feet. Leonardo Santos, he lost to Grant Dawson in March. He fights pretty tall in the stand-up. He's going to have a huge 5-inch height advantage here, 5 inches in reach as well. Picks his shots pretty well. He can use that switch stance to his advantage. We see him listed there as an orthodox fighter, but definitely a switch stance fighter from what I've seen. Decent striking, decent counter striking on the feet, good leg kicks. His striking looked good in the Dawson fight. Striking speed is a little bit slow, but I don't think that'll matter in this fight. And I've seen good takedown defense from him. I've seen good ground game. I've seen good grappling as well. Usually Guida is the older fighter with anyone that he fights. He's 39 years old, but he's going up against Leonardo Santos, who is 41 years old. From a prediction perspective, what I will say is this. Santos's takedown defense, I think, is going to be his biggest advantage. You think about Marco Madsen being a wrestler. Guida didn't even have an effective takedown game at all in that fight. Maybe just knowing that Marco Madsen was a wrestler. Although Santos is not a wrestler, he has shown me really good takedown defense at 89%. And I think we're going to see another fight where Guida does not have an effective approach to take a guy down. Marco Madsen was also able to get the decision on the feet. I think Santos is a much better striker than Madsen is. I can see this fight stylistically going in the same way, except Santos clearly wins the rounds on the feet versus a split decision win, which is what Marco Madsen got. So Leonardo Santos is going to be my pick, minus 190. I can absolutely understand it. But I got to say, am I going to rush to bet on this one? No, simply due to age. Average age of these fighters is 40 years old. But I think if this fight happens 10 times in its current state, Leonardo Santos has to win at least 8 of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think this is a hard fight here to pick here because when you look at how the fight could turn out, is Santos, as the fight goes on, as he showed in his last fight, his cardio is not there. And we know Guida, his best attribute is his cardio. So if Guida survives that first round, I can see Guida winning the second and the third round and winning this fight. So this is a really hard fight here for me again. This is another fight I would not recommend putting a play on. It's so hard. I can't put any money on Guida. This guy has 21 losses. I can't make a pick on that guy. He has 21 losses, but I think stylistically he could win this fight. But I think all Santos has to fix is his cardio. Just keep running around the hills in Brazil, and he wins this fight. I think that's all he has to fix. So I know he has those cardio issues, so it's hard for me to make a decision and be confident. But I'm going to go with Santos. I think he's the better overall MMA fighter with the striking, the jiu-jitsu, the submissions, the size. I give Guida the wrestling advantage and the cardio and the heart. So those are all big aspects. So this is a close fight. This can go either way. But I'm going to go for the channel. I'm going to take Santos. But be careful. This could be a trap. This could be a fight that Guida shows up.
Let's move on to our co-main event and two really good fights to end off this card here. Co-main event, we have Brad Riddell taking on Rafael Fiziev. 4-fight win streak for Fiziev. I will start with that. He beat Bobby Green back in August. Good MMA stand-up, good boxing, really good Thai kickboxing. Probably has the purest and best Muay Thai striking in the UFC, at least in that upper echelon. We know that he's competed in a number of Muay Thai fights as well at the highest level. So definitely very bona fide in his ability. Powerful leg kick to the body, good head movement, good combination striker. Like I said, definitely one of the best strikers in the UFC right now. He does have a good ground game. Don't be too alarmed by his numbers. Only 0.59 takedowns per fight, 50% accuracy to go along with it. But good top position with activity and positioning. 100% takedown defense as well, which I think is going to be very important in this fight. He's going up against Brad Riddell. Of course, Brad Riddell is on a 7-fight win streak in his own right. Beat Drew Dober back in June. That's a pretty good win. We know that he trains with very quality opponents. City Kickboxing, Tiger Muay Thai. Look them up in terms of the fighters that they have at their respective gyms. He is considered a striker, quick jab, good tight combinations, tight hooks, doesn't loop them, doesn't waste his efforts with his striking. Bit of a methodical striker. Not really going to see him kind of push the pace per se. More of a counter striker, nasty leg kick to go along with it. The thing with Brad Riddell, we see him get taken down. On the ground, he kind of accepts bottom position, but of course, he's also able to land takedowns. I'm curious to see how that dynamic plays out in this fight. Despite how high Riddell's level of striking is, and it is very high in my opinion, I think Fiziev is just at a higher level as a striker, as a pure striker, at the very least. I think Fiziev will be able to stuff the takedowns and maybe even threaten takedowns of his own. I think Fiziev can potentially rock Riddell. We saw Drew Dober do it more than once in their fight. I think that leaves an opening for Fiziev to potentially do the same thing. Again, very good matchup here overall, but I do think that this is a very good matchup specifically for Fiziev. Despite how good Brad Riddell is, despite how tough he is, definitely a fighter that I do like betting on in Brad Riddell. But I look at this matchup versus Rafael Fiziev. I see Fiziev as the better striker, and I see Fiziev as being able to stuff the takedowns of Brad Riddell and potentially hurt Brad Riddell on the feet as we've seen him rocked in the past. Close fight on the odds, close fight in actuality, but I actually feel pretty good about Rafael Fiziev in this one.
Yeah, this is a really, really good fight. This is going to be one of the better fights of the year. We got two of the best strikers in the UFC going head to head. Technically, I don't think you can find two guys better than this. Like, these two are gonna likely keep it on the feet. These guys have trained together at Tiger Muay Thai, so they're used to each other. Now, one thing I'll give Fiziev, I think he has the kicking advantage, the creativity. I think he might have the speed, but he has that. And I think that's his advantage in this fight. I think Brad Riddell has the cardio advantage. I give him the boxing advantage. And I think he's going to be the bigger guy in the ring. I think, forget the height. I think when you look at the thickness of each fighter, Brad Riddell is going to be the thicker guy. This is a close fight. I can't really feel confident going either way. I think it's literally a coin flip. It's going to be who's the better striker, or who lands first. When you look at Brad Riddell, he's 70 wins, 8 losses in kickboxing. So this guy's kickboxing is legit, and he has a boxing heavy kickboxing style, which could work out here because Fiziev is more kick oriented. And if Riddell gets in, he can definitely land those shots. And one thing that's going for Riddell as well, he has the better cardio. He has more heart. He's shown that. He's gone 3 rounds. In the Fiziev fight versus in his last fight, he was gassing out in the 3rd round. He was getting crushed in that 3rd round. If that was Brad Riddell, I think it would be a different story. So I'm going to go Brad Riddell here in a fight that one day I went Fiziev, the next day I went Riddell. I was doing this for a whole last week, and I landed on Riddell today. But I want to see the weigh-in. I want to see how they look at the weigh-in. But I think this is a fight that Brad Riddell can get done, and I think he's the underdog. So I'm going to go Brad Riddell to win this fight, a close fight. I think the late second round, third round, I think his cardio, his heart's going to show. So I'm going to go Brad Riddell.
Let's move on to our main event of the evening. We have Rob Font taking on José Aldo. A great bantamweight fight here for Rob Font. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Very impressive unanimous decision win over Cody Garbrandt back in May. Very good lateral movement. He can switch stance very effectively. Sharp jab, long jab. He uses his jab a lot to set things up. His jab becomes more and more effective as the fight goes on as well. He'll go from moving well from the outside to almost playing that stalker type of role if he feels like he is putting the pressure on you and if he feels like you are starting to wear out. Decent forward pressure when he decides to do so. Just a good overall high-level patient striker. Zero cardio concerns as well, at least in my opinion. He showed that, I should say, in his last fight versus Cody Garbrandt. For José Aldo, 2-fight win streak. Definitely have to respect his game. Still fighting at a very high level. He beat Pedro Munoz back in August via unanimous decision. Good pressure style in the stand-up. He's a complete diverse striker. Has that Muay Thai stance. Has that high-level boxing. Uses the hooks to the body in the stand-up. A lot of fakes, a lot of feints. Really high striking IQ. Throws really good combinations, and we know his kicks, although not nowhere close to as abundant as it used to be in the past. Still very effective as a part of his game. From a prediction perspective or from a fight analysis perspective, I am expecting this, of course, goes without saying, to be a very high-level striking match. I think this would be a highly technical match as well. I think the biggest factor in this fight for me is that Aldo usually is not the aggressor when he fights. Again, more of a technical point style of fighting. I actually think that's going to work against him. Rob Font has a longer stance, only a 1-inch reach advantage, only a 1-inch height advantage. I'm curious how true those numbers are, because he should look like the taller fighter, and he definitely fights like the longer fighter. So I'm curious to see how true those actual height and reach numbers are. But like I said, longer stance, longer jab, longer straight punch for Rob Font. I think that's going to work to his advantage. I also think Rob Font's strikes do more damage, with the exception of Aldo's body shots, if he lands them. And we've seen Aldo's pace slow down as the fight goes on. Whereas, although he's only been in one 5-round fight, Rob Font, again, has shown me that he won't slow down at all. I am going to go with Rob Font on this. Part of this is a gut pick. This is the main event. These are 2 top 5 guys, if I'm not mistaken. I think José Aldo is still in the top 5, if not top 6 or 7. But so there is some gut pick to this, and I can definitely see why the odds are as close as they are. But I like Rob Font here. I'm expecting 48-47, if not 49-46 type of decision for Rob Font. I think this one goes the distance. I think Font has really good momentum, behind his name right now. And I think he's really hungry to show that he is in this upper echelon of fighters and potentially get that title shot. So I'm going Rob Font on this, -140. I love the odds on this as well. But of course, we know José Aldo is going to be game all fight. But again, just to make it clear, my pick for the channel is going to be Rob Font.
Yeah, this is a fight that I really like here. I'm going Rob Font all day on this one. I was in a Reddit MMA community, and these guys were blasting me when I was telling them Rob Font is easy money here. He's gonna get this done. These guys were sold on Aldo. But the thing, how I look at it is, Aldo of old would get this done. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, Aldo of old would get this done with the leg kicks and the diverse attack and the speed and the counters. But the Aldo that we're seeing today, he doesn't throw as much leg kicks. He's now turned his approach to body punches. And I think against one of the best boxers, everyone's trying to figure out who the best boxer in the UFC is. Holloway, Poirier, All these guys claiming they're the best boxer, and no one mentions Rob Font. And I look at Rob Font. I'm really impressed with his boxing, his jab, his straight. It's really quick. I think he's gonna be there all day against Aldo, who likes to throw wide punches. The straighter punch gets there first. I'm gonna go Rob Font here to win a striking match, and I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty sold on Rob Font getting this one done. So Rob Font's my pick.
Let's take it to Vegas in that case, speaking of confidence. But we are going to start with some underdog action first. Looking at the main card, which underdog do you feel has the best shot at winning?
All right. Main card, Brad Riddell.
Brad Riddell, plus 100. I will flip another name to you that you mentioned, Jamahal Hill. How do you feel about him?
Nah, listen, he could win that fight. He could win that fight. So I'm not gonna put my name on that one, but I think that's a close fight. It's better you don't bet that fight because listen, one guy's gonna strike, one guy's gonna wrestle. Where is the fight gonna go? That's gonna be the winner of this fight. And it's hard to decide at this point. So yeah, I wouldn't really put any money on that.
Fair enough. So let's put your name then for Brad Riddell as the underdog that has the best shot at winning. I looked at this main card. I actually couldn't come up with any underdog at all that has the best shot at winning. So I'm not going to force it, and I'm going to sort of skip an underdog pick for this main card. But of course, going back to my prelim card, I did offer up 2 potential underdogs just to remind the audience of those. That was Maki Pitolo. That was also Claudio Puelles as 2 underdogs that I thought had the best shot at winning. In terms of favorite picks, I will go first here because I do have a couple of them. I really like Brendan Allen in this spot. I know there's some caution with Riddell, but I do like Fiziev. And again, I really like Rob Font in this fight. So pretty juicy 3-fight parlay at plus 285. $100 will return $385 for our bigger bettors. $250 will return $964. In terms of favorite picks, who are you taking a look at?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep mine simple, man. Like, you guys want to get paid, right? So we gotta keep it simple. Brendan Allen, Rob Font.
I like that.
They're gonna get this done, guys. Like, put something on that. Me and Harris, Harris, what was that boxing fight that we both hit?
That was George Kambosos to beat Teofimo Lopez.
All right, 7-1. 7-1 underdog. So let's go. Let's win another one. Let's go Brendan Allen, Rob Font.
Good money here, plus 114. $100 will return $214. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return $535. And again, 2 fights, 2 very confident fights that we both feel, and definitely some winnable money on the table there. So let's officially sign off on this. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up. Make sure that you participate in the comments. We want to hear from you. Who is your underdog pick? How do you feel about our underdogs? How do you feel about our favorites? And if there's a specific parlay that you're looking at and or considering, again, let that be known in the comments, and we're more than happy to give you some additional insight and analysis on that. But again, officially signing off, this has been the UFC Vegas 44, aka UFC Fight Night, Font versus José Aldo, main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxingmmapicks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, let's get this money.
Let's do it.